when we do something bad and we feel bad. This is already hell in this life. But in Buddhism, this heaven and hell also exist after we die. It depends on how much we have done. Both hell and heaven, we will have to reap them, maybe not in the same life. For instance, if we die, after we die this life, and it was time for our bad deeds to bear fruit, then we will have to go to hell. And if it's time for our good deeds to bear fruit, then we will go to heaven. But heaven and hell is not a place like this here, not like Bangkok or Pattaya. It's not a location, it's a state of mind. The mind is something very difficult to grasp. We all have the mind, we all do have the mind, because without the mind we cannot know. The mind is the consciousness, but at the same time it's the seat of our emotion, of our anxiety and suffering, of our happiness. And this all results from what we do, what we think especially. When we think good, we already feel good. We're already in heaven at that moment. So, but what we do, whether good or bad, they tend to accumulate and become habit forming. And we will keep doing it again and again, repeatedly. So this is the real heaven and hell. It's inside the mind itself. But the mind is something that we cannot perceive with our eyes. The only way to perceive the mind, to get to know the mind, is through meditation. As I mentioned earlier on, when we sit in meditation and focus on one particular mental object until the mind converges and rest in peace, in calm, that's when we will get to see the mind. Because at that moment, the mind also is detached from the body. It stops receiving all the messages that come through the five sense doors. The sound that comes through our ears, the things that comes through our eyes will be cut off temporarily. And there you will see the mind in its pure form. Then you will know this is where heaven and hell is. It's in your mind itself. Because when the body breaks up, the mind doesn't break up with the body. The mind will continue on depending on the state of mind it has developed. If it has consistently do good, then it will develop into a good mental state we call heaven, or the highest form of mental state we call nirvana. That's where the mind is totally free from all forms of suffering, because it has completely eliminated the three defilements of good, hate, and delusion. But if the mind is being afflicted with worries and anxiety, then it is like it is being in hell, because these are the fire that consume the mind. So to answer the question, there is heaven and hell, but it's not a place or a location. It's just the state of mind that we are in at that time. After our body dissolves, and if it should happen to be time for the mind to reach the state of heaven, then it will remain in the state for a long time. But it will eventually disappear, and a new state of mind will take over. Maybe it is the state of mind for hell. Then the mind will be consumed by the fire of suffering, anxiety, worries, fears. And then again, eventually it will reach the state of mind of a human being. That's when it will then take a human birth again. Or when it's time for it to take the state of mind of an animal, then it will become an animal. The thing that separates humans from animals is the maintenance of the five precepts. if we could maintain the 5 precepts, then we are creating the state of mind of a human being. But if we keep breaking the 5 precepts, then we are creating the state of mind of animals. And this will then be the cause that will make us human or animals, that will send us to heaven or to hell.
Paul, you told us the duty of a monk here in the temple. What do you think the duty of a Buddhist is?
For lay people, the 3 categories of actions that I mentioned earlier on also apply, but in a different level of intensity. Doing good for lay people means to help other people, like helping the sick, the elderly, the needy, and also help the monks, because the monks has no occupation. The monk rely on the support of the lay people to exist. So that's why lay people will give food to the monks every morning if there are monks who happen to pass by their houses. If not, then they will wait for the weekly religious observance day, in which they would go to the temple and bring food to give to the monks at the temple. This is what I mean by doing good. Just a brief example, but it covers everything that you do in your life. Whatever you do that benefits other people is doing good. Whatever you do that is beneficial and not harmful to other people. Even helping the animals. If you see stray dogs and you give them food, give them shelter, this is also doing good. But Thai Buddhists believe in helping the monks will give them the highest merits, because the monk is the one who will study the teaching of the Buddha, then translate into the daily life to teach people in their daily